Hello everyone, I'm Yasmin Taj, Senior Editor, People Matters, and welcome to the People Matters Alight Transformation Series. Digital disruption is defining what the workplace of tomorrow looks like. Whether it is L&D, talent acquisition, or performance management, there are varied technologies taking over HR today. While emerging technologies are disrupting organizations faster than we can predict, what are organizations doing to stay ahead in the curve? The organizations that are in the forefront are the ones who have put a strong focus on predicting what the future will demand and adopting the right approach and preparing themselves for it. Digital transformation is not a one-off project, it is a continuous journey. With digital transformation being at the top of the agenda for many organizations, the traditional view of digital HR being just about technology is changing. And with this, business and its ask from HR too is changing. Transformation is now a business need, and businesses are now pushing HR to change and make rapid decisions. In order to recognize organizations who are doing a path-breaking job in their digital transformation journeys, People Matters and Alight Solutions are curating a series of these digital transformation journeys from organizations across Asia. These stories will not only help other organizations kickstart their journey, but will also help them select the right partners, make the right decisions, and adopt the right approach. So without much delay, let's begin today's episode with Go-Jek and hear their inspirational digital transformation journey. So let's welcome Monica and Rishi on our show today. Thank you, Monica, for joining us, and thank you, Rishi, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll begin with you, Monica. So how is the e-commerce industry changing, especially in Indonesia? And how is the business now changing in terms of the demand it has from HR?
If I were to look back, 5 to 7 years ago, the role of HR is really, really different than the role of HR now. I think we are all very much aware that the role of HR previously is looked at as more of like a functional support rather than a true partner towards the business. And I think in Indonesia is not much difference, right? I think Indonesia has been blessed with the growth of number of startups, especially digital startups. And with that, I think the demand for HR as a function has definitely shifted. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by shifted? I think with the birth of a lot of these digital companies, HR by nature is forced to rethink of a lot of its processes to move towards automation. Yeah. And HR by its nature is also forced to look at their internal data, their market data, and to provide analysis that can support the business to make a better, sharper business and commercial acumen.
Yes, I agree so much. Thank you. Rishi, what are your views on this? How is business changing? How is its demand from HR changing?
Sure. So what we are seeing, again, it's both global and also applicable in Asia, is that businesses are rapidly going through disruptions. And Go-Jek is one of the companies which is causing most of those disruptions in the region, in their industry.
Yes, it is.
So as the disruptions are happening, the businesses are seeing there is new jobs are emerging, old jobs are all going away. Mm-hmm. So business has to also then move or reconfigure them as per the new jobs that are getting created. Mm-hmm. And the third thing which we are seeing is your consumers or employees, their expectations are changing from a talent side. Mm-hmm. Because they are seeing a different world now. Also, they are a different generation, being millennials. Their expectations, aspirations, all those are also driving the way businesses are getting impacted. True. So now with these changes happening on the business front, so business is also expecting things from HR, and then we did some CEO study a few years ago, from where we had asked CEOs what are the top talent outcomes that you're driving from the business. So there were 5 things which emerged from there. First, which business wanted was HR should take ownership of the culture, mm-hmm. actualizing the culture where as the businesses are growing, how do you ensure that people stay honest to that one culture that the organization wants to drive? Mm-hmm. Second was, with the changing in jobs and the disruption, how do you future-proof the organization through capability? So how are you finding talent, ensuring that all the skills and capability are available and there? Mm-hmm. Third was, how do you take care of the aspirations of the employees and their expectations. So giving them right information, transparency, engaging work culture and all of that. Fourth was around how do you create a high performance work environment. Because the moment you do that, that's obviously attributing to your business growth.
Yeah.
And finally, which is fairly important, is how can HR influence change across all of this in the organization. So these are the 5 things which we heard the business leaders as their expectations from HR to drive the outcomes for the business.
Yes, it indeed is changing a lot these days, yes. So Monica, as HR thought of delivering to the changing demands of business, how did the thinking of talent management and technology converge?
Well, if we look at it, right, I believe that the conventional talent management principle and philosophy still applies.
Okay.
Especially if it's relating to the science of behavior. I mean, science of behavior, analyzing human beings, the need of human beings has not changed much.
Exactly.
And what people want and need from work is essentially the same. But how do we then deliver a new experience for our employee? And I think that then we have to think of the tools and the way that we deliver it to the employees is the part that is the game changer, right? Especially when we look at it, employee experience is becoming more and more the future of work. And so listening to our employees, understanding what they want and understanding what is important for them needs to be prioritized. And so with that, I think that's how you combine like traditional talent management with technology. Yeah. And I think, for us, if we were to look at it specifically, one of the examples that push us to move towards our cloud sort of center data management is because the need for employee to get access to information as soon as possible. And so that was part of the reason for us to move towards that. And the whole idea behind eliminating human bottleneck and trying to provide self-service becomes the key drivers why we did a few of our initiatives in terms of this transformation.
Great. So as a unicorn, when was that point when you realized that you have to kickstart your transformation journey? If you could take us through that.
I think, for us, the advantage of us is also we're born as a digital company. So I would say that that's actually part in our DNA, right? Yeah. And if we were to look at our company values and our company theme, this year, actually, one of our themes is to eliminate human bottleneck through automation. So it forces the entire organization to really think of our processes and what is important. Again, we look at time, resources, everything is finite, right? It's not unlimited. And so how do we actually think of things that are really important? So if we look at it, I think since we were born, day one, that has always been our priority. But as we realize, it is a continuous journey, and we are continuously improving and looking at all the different processes that need technology to support it.
So how did you shortlist or identify the processes that needed to evolve first? If you could tell me top 5 in your mind right now, and then how did you go about transforming those?
Sure. Again, I think, being a company that's extremely focused on employee experience, that was our number one. Look, we do listen to a lot to our employees, so we try to gather what is their major pain point, right? So I think that's number one. Number two, we started looking at things that were consuming a lot of time, because I think, at the end of the day, speed and mistakes or error rates contributes towards the employee experience. So using those 3 as the key metrics, that's when we started identifying what are some of the processes that needs to be changed, as well as the technology that needs to support it. So again, I think, implementation of Workday as our cloud system was number 1, because the number one issue that was raised was how can I get information or clarity about the organization, about everybody in the organization, especially, Go-Jek has grown from a company that was 100 people to now close to 5,000 people. So how do we provide that transparency across the organization? So the push towards that is also, again, self-service, providing accurate information at their fingertip. That was one of it, right? Second, an initiative that we looked at was also, again, in the spirit of self-service, was revamping our entire travel reimbursement and the expense system.
It's very important.
Exactly,
Yes.
right? Instead of relying on other people, we want to empower our employees to be able to do their own bookings and things like that. And of course, there are other initiatives around, using technology around recruitment, around learning, and again, implementation of LMS, learning management system. The whole concept though is the same, right? It's about self-service. It's about empowering our employees, and even in exploring what type of LMS is right for our employee, we really want to push learning as a responsibility of the individual, right? So our responsibility as an organization is to be able to curate great content, develop good curriculum, but at the end of the day, it is their choice. How they want to use it, as well as it's up to them in terms of like time management and things like that.
So with so many processes to be transformed, how did you go about selecting your partners? You said you went on Workday. So how was the whole, what was the thought behind, when you were trying to finalize the partner, and how was it after that? Who did you choose and how did you collaborate?
The implementation of Workday, I think that goes back about 2.5 years ago. Okay. I think for us, we looked at a partner that has great experience, who can understand our pain point, and of course, I think the most important thing is that they're able to understand our culture and process. Because I think in implementing any system, each individual is different, and I think having the right thought partner to be able to ask you the right questions becomes very important, because then that defines all the business processes or everything that goes behind the scenes, right? So I think that was our number one. We did sit down with 2 different vendors at that point of time, and I think with Alight, what came about was that their ability to basically dig deeper of what is the underlying reason, why are we doing all of this, and and they were able to identify what are some of the things that could potentially become a hurdle for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was nice, very nice. So how did the partnership work for you? So when Go-Jek came to you, how did you go about studying their work culture? What game plan did you have in mind?
Okay, so for Go-Jek, we implemented the Workday Core HCM, and this was a phased implementation over here, unlike many other projects where one goes for a big bang. And then Go-Jek has its own reason why they wanted to follow that approach. The brief was do it right the first time, okay, and that's why the phased approach. And the second brief was employee experience, because that's, and as Monica has already shared, that is the core to the organization. Whatever you do, experiences. So with these 2 briefs is what we started working with. Also, as Alight, when we work with organizations, we try to stay as an advisor to keep the client team honest, rather than just work as a technology implementer where we take instructions, go back and start configuring and come back and show. So that also helps us to create that value for the organization on, are we really looking at your processes, giving you ideas on what may work, what may not work, and how do we then agree to doing that. The other advantage of having that Workday system was that everything is configurable. So even when we went live, after that also we still had that flexibility to keep tweaking, because in Go-Jek, one of the things is agility is at the core. So as the businesses are changing, their processes are changing, so the system also allows them the flexibility to tweak based on how the businesses are expanding. We've also, as subsequent phases, implemented some other modules as part of the Workday. So that's how we have been engaging with the Go-Jek.
So how's the collaboration been? I mean, has it been very successful? How far do you want to take it?
Monica.
I think the
she's one
collaboration
talking
has
about it.
been. I think the collaboration has been very successful.
Yes.
Beyond that, I think Alight has provide us with support, make it even minor or major. They're always
Nice.
there to answer our question and always try to figure out a solution around it. So I think it's been great.
Great. So that brings me to the next question. I'm sure you must have faced a number of roadblocks through this journey. So what were some major roadblocks that you came across and how did you overcome them?
I think the major roadblocks with any sort of digital transformation at the very core of it is changing the mindset of employees. And I believe that is not a one-off. It's actually a continuous process. You keep on getting new people,
Yes.
and then again, it starts all over again. And we look at it, technology at the end of the day is just a support tool. Without any adoption, it renders useless.
Yes.
And so for us, I think the major roadblock is, again, how do we get our people to adopt it, and how do we get our people to like it, love it, and really use it? Because if not, it sits there and it does nothing. So I think that's our biggest challenge. How do we overcome it? Again, it's a continuous journey, but I think over communicating becomes very important. That's one of our biggest lesson. Over communicating, and then number two is also, you need to change certain processes, the way you do things. When you provide information, for example, that pushes people for adoption. So I think those are the two ways that you can overcome that roadblock.
Okay. As digital disruption sets in, how can HR enable businesses to change?
Okay, so to answer this, I'll go back to a recent research that we had done where we identified we asked similar questions to the CHROs in that survey, and around 6 insights came out of that. So the first one was, when you're looking at such kind of HR transformation, you need to look at your HR operating model, because that undergoes a change based on what you're doing on the way you're implementing technology and processes and all. So that's critical to redefine your operating model or have a very clearly defined operating model.
Okay.
Second is getting buy-ins from the business leaders and the stakeholders, because they really need to be bought into this to actually make the transformation journey successful. Third is, while technology is there, but it needs to be owned by the business and HR, and it should not be an IT-led project. So that's where it's critical that while IT is there to ensure it's the right technology, security, and all of those are taken care of, but as owners, it has to be HR who has to own this. The fourth one is, when you are evaluating technology, it should not be just on the fact basis the functional specifications, which every tech platform says they all meet, but it's more about what do you as a business want, what scenarios are you looking at for your business growth, and how does this technology support that. So it's not only now, but also look at your 3-year time frame as a growth, and what kind of tool can help you enable that. The last two are around change, while Monica also mentioned about over communication. So we break change into 2 parts. One is managing change across the organization, so which is very critical. And even more critical is managing change within the HR organization, because HR is still traditionally siloed. Everybody wants to own their work that they're doing. Collaboration is still a big question mark. So that needs to be broken. People need to start taking ownership of the full process end to end, and not just their silo of that process piece. So these are the 6 insights that we hear from the CHROs on how HR can enable transformation.
Businesses to change. Yes. Great. Thank you. So Monica, when you look back now, how successful do you think your digital transformation journey has been? And have you used any success metrics to find out
how successful we have been? I feel that we are still at the very beginning of our transformation. But I think if you want to look at it, a few success key matrix is definitely referring back to what I said. is number one, adoption rate, right? Adoption rate among employee. Number
Yes.
two, which I think is actually extremely important, is NPS.
Yes.
What do I mean by the NPS or Net Promoter Score? It's the willingness of employee to push other people to use it, and also to help other people learn it. So I think those two would be the key metrics, and at Go-Jek, we actually really value feedback that employee give us, and people at Go-Jek are extremely open, and they're very candid in giving the feedback. Make it good, make it bad. They're always there to give us feedback, and I think that is the only way we can improve as an organization. And similarly with the digital transformation, it's also the same thing. Sometimes they also give ideas on how we can make this more successful. So what is nice about this is that, again, even though it is HR led, but then at the same time, everybody across the organization feels that they need to own it. And I think that is a very important aspect to ensure that your digital transformation is a success.
I'm sure it is. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Monica. Thank you so much, Rishi. Your digital transformation journey is indeed very inspiring and enchanting. I'm sure our audience got to learn a lot from it, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hope this story was inspirational enough for you to kickstart your digital transformation journey. Stay tuned for more such stories and insightful conversations on the People Matters Alight Transformation series. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.